being trained in the Western mentality, my understanding of love was kind of cross-section of what I was coming from and also what I was trained in. And we were taught that the base of love, the basic understanding of love that we have comes from the Greek mythology in the West. West meaning Western Europe and Northern America, meaning that different types of love that we have listed in the Greek mythology. And the surprising fact for me was that I actually found another type of love, a completely novel and new model of love. I was not looking for it. It just emerged through the data, and I thought, maybe this would be the answer for our love confusion. And this is what I'm offering to the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this exciting episode of Let's Talk Love. I'm Robin Ducharme, and I am very honored and happy to welcome a guest we've had on the show before. But we're going to be talking about Dr. Sara Nazarzadeh's new book. It's called Love by Design, and we have the author with us today. Dr. Sara, thank you for being with me.
Of course, thank you for having me again. It's always lovely to be in conversation with you, Robin.
It really is. I was very excited to receive your new book because I know the last time you were on Let's Talk Love, we were talking about how you were writing this book and how you were going to be launching it. I think it was like over a year. It was a year and a half ago when you were first on.
Yes.
And you were in the process. Congratulations. It's a beautiful,
you.
it's amazing.
Thank
I
you.
would say, and I was just, so this morning, so I've got a collaborator, one of my best friends, Kirsten, that helps me prepare for our podcast episodes. And we both read the books and listen to the podcasts and get to know our experts. And then we get to collaborate together and talk about our learnings. And it's a beautiful process that we have.
Yeah.
And we were both like, oh, this is one of those books that you're going to be turning to over and over again because it's full of really practical and I think powerful exercises and tools that you can use in your life and in your relationships to improve your relationships. And I just like the toolkits and the building blocks. It's a Bible for relationships. I can't wait to talk to you about it.
Thank you. So I've been working on this for how many years? Like 16 years. So it's better be.
Right. It's a culmination of all of your work and all of your experience with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of couples probably by now, right?
Yes.
So you are a world-renowned social psychologist specializing in sexuality and relationships, and you've worked across more than 40 countries with individuals and couples. I like that in itself is incredible. Like you're working around the world. And so you've got a very, very worldly view on what makes us different with different cultures, but also what makes us so similar in relationships. So I think you come to the table with a lot of different skills that a lot of psychologists out there. So yeah. So tell us about what led you to work in this field and the history around writing this book.
So how much time do we have?
Yes. Synopsis, whatever you want to share.
Sure. So I want to share as much as is hopefully would be helpful for people out there. You know, with relationships, we don't get manuals. Usually.
No, we don't.
And we think we know, and we think when love strikes, then the rest will follow. And that is the melody of our generation and, probably generations before. But for us specifically, because we are not satisfied with just a mediocre relationship, mediocre job, mediocre anything really. So in my quest to find that for myself and my clients, I conducted multiple research with different people, different parts of the world, and three specific research that I draw from for this book. One of them was from the Thinkocrats work that showed the pyramid of self-awareness. So what are the things that the person personally an individual needs to contribute into a relationship, to give it even a chance to survive, let alone thrive? So that's one. The second one was the qualitative research that I've done with 312 people, couples that I work with personally over 10 years. And then the last but not least It was the one that we did with the US representative sample, meaning that if we have different relational orientations, sexual orientations, all of those were considered in the sample of 159 couples that we studied, and more than 300 individuals who self-identified as being in thriving relationships. So I was not interested to look at why we fail, because I think we more or less know that by now. But I wanted to know how not only to survive, but also thrive. Then, right? And then the result actually surprised me, because I always thought, because I was trained in England also, I'm from the Middle East, but then trained in England and lived in multiple parts of the world. Being trained in the Western mentality, my understanding of love was a kind of cross-section of what I was coming from and also what I was trained in. And we were taught that the base of love, the basic understanding of love that we have, comes from the Greek mythology in the West. West meaning Western Europe and Northern America, meaning that different types of love that we have listed in the Greek mythology. And the surprising fact for me was that I actually found another type of love, a completely novel and new model of love. I was not looking for it. It just emerged through the data, and I thought, maybe this would be the answer for our love confusion. And this is what I'm offering to the world.
Yes. I love that. It's an emergent, and you use that word twice in what you're just talking about. And that is what you are teaching, is the emergent love model.
Yes.
And so how did you, because I think that word, like, to me, it speaks to, like, you think about something emerging from the ashes of the ground, right? So it's growing, it's coming up. And like you said, our relationships are changing. We are expecting more out of our lives in all aspects. We want more. And so it's about expansion and growth. And that is what I think you're teaching, is that this is so much about ourselves, but also growing in our relationships.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things that I had issues with was when couples or individuals, for that matter, would come to me and say, well, why do I end up with all of these wrong people? Why do I repeat the pattern? And yes, we go to attachment styles. Yes, we go to Gestalt and psychodynamic, whatever that is out there. But is that really the answer? They could, we could help them a little bit, but if they don't know where the destination is, what is the framework that they are operating within, they tend to put their effort where it doesn't really matter. So one thing that I wanted to do was not only to introduce the model of emergent love, meaning that, hopefully we'll get to that, to describe what does that even mean, emergent love.
Yes.
And the other thing was, so now I know. Thank you. I changed my paradigm. Now what? What do I do on a daily basis? Who do I look for? How do I look for the person? How do I know that this person is my person? How do I keep it? The relationship that I want. And also, furthermore, it breaks my heart when people ask me, do you really think I'm capable of having the love I desire? I'm like, yeah, everyone deserves to be in the loving relationship they desire. Why not?
Yes. But we're going about it the wrong way. We have to change the paradigm.
Yes, Einstein said it. You can't solve a problem with the same frame of mind that created it. You have to see the world anew. And that's what I'm offering.
Yes. And so you compare submergent love to emergent love. And so many of us are taught the submergent love model.
Yes.
Right? So do you want to start there? Like,
sure.
You talk about this in your own marriage, Sara.
Yes.
Which you share a lot about your personal story. And I love this, okay? Because you talk about your parents' marriage and how it was the daily acts. It was how they treated each other on like moment by moment basis, and the rituals that they partook in. And just, it's so much about all the things you're talking about in the book. Okay. So you were raised in a house where your parents had a very thriving relationship. And then
they did.
Is that correct?
Yes, for the most part.
Yes, we're not. There's not a fairy tale here. It's real. They're two real people, but they gave a great example in many ways.
They did.
Yes, but then, as a scientist and a person that is studying this, you are seeing like there's a lot of people getting divorced here. Like, and the stats are not exactly right. It's not 50% because that's all skewed in many ways. We don't need to go there. But you're like, I don't believe in marriage because why the heck would I sign up for such a ritual that actually fails 50% of the time? That doesn't seem right, right? So you've got
Hmm.
that side of what your belief system is coming from your parents' relationship. And then in the beginning of your marriage, you talk about how you did have a codependent relationship and how you realized throughout that this isn't so well, you did have a submersive relationship and then you've now turned it into an emergent one.
Yes, yes. And it's a daily practice, after 20
Yes.
something years, it's still a daily practice. So what I've
Yes.
seen in my parents was that they came together based on multiple areas of attraction that they had for one another. But when I asked them what made their relationship work, or why did you marry him? Why did you marry her? They were like, well, it was faith, was just like a watermelon. You get married and then you figure it out. I'm like,
Right.
that's not right. You work together. You assess each other ad nauseum. You spend so much time together, had so many shared experiences and hobbies together, shared values together. So how could you just sit there and say this was fate? And the daily practices that they had for one another, going out
Right.
of the way for one another, having each other's back. So why don't we talk about those little things that actually make the huge differences? So that was their marriage. But yes, to your point, I was 15 when I decided not to attend any wedding whatsoever because I thought, yeah, we go to the wedding, nice clothes, nice pictures, and then give gifts, whatever. And then 6 months later, 6 years later, whatever, they fall apart. And for my 15-year-old mind, I was thinking, if you really honestly, I should have published this in the book. If you look at my pictures in any weddings that they forced me to go to, I look like this. Like, I know what's coming. It's like, so I know it's like,
Wow. Yes.
naive, but as a person who is trying to learn about relationships, what about me? How am I going to end up to be? So that was not really very appealing. And then when I met my husband now, things were a little bit different because I felt like, with all the informations that I got, like, for example, I remember I asked a professor of mine that I thought they had a very healthy relationship. He told me that when you saw somebody and you feel like you can't live without them, that's your person. And
Mm.
how many of us are given those messages, right?
Yes, we want that. We're like, we want to find that person that we can't live without. I have
Yes.
actually said that. I know I have, like for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, it's really, and then that opens the
Um,
door for all sorts of fallacies. Like, for example, we talk
right.
about, don't you love me? You should have known that tonight I wanted salad, but not a steak. Don't you love me? No, I didn't know that. I don't know your digestive system doing what it's doing tonight. And we might be laughing about it, but I swear to God, these are the things that I hear from my couples.
Oh
That
yes.
don't you love me? You should. Yes, there are certain things that I expect my
If you
husband to
loved me,
know.
you would do this. And yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
a while back I was in an interview. They asked me about the TikTok phenomenon. For example, if you ask your partner to bring you orange, if he doesn't peel it for you, they don't love you. And I'm sitting here thinking, wow, if I based my marriage based on that, I would have divorced my husband maybe 200 times by now. It's
Yes.
not, it's a very interesting, just reductionist approach to
Yes.
this nuanced, beautiful dance that we are having in a relationship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, at the beginning of my relationship, when I met my husband, I felt like, okay, so we have a lot in common. We can talk. We can very logically everything, and I'm attracted to him. So everything, check, 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 check. So I felt like this submergent love that we're talking about, for people who haven't read the book, there are diagrams that I use to bring the
Mhm.
message home. So, for example, if you think that, how many of us grew up with this mentality that two people are living their life, doing their own business, and then come together, spend time, money, resources, and attention, and all of those resources, right?
Mhm.
And then together, and then when you fall in love, then it's a very good time for you to go to the next step, whatever that next step is for you. Cohabit, live together. like have a baby together, marry, whatever your next step is, right? And then what? If you stay there, that will become a cohabitation in a sense that you will create codependency out of that cohabitation. And then you are going to lose parts of you that you're going to struggle for the rest of your life to find and to patch together again. You forget who you were. Many of my couples who come to me after affair, they've been in those relationships, that because they lost themselves so much, they didn't know who they are. So when they saw somebody who saw something in them that resonated, that they lost along the way, they really yearned for finding that peace again. So they broke off and went with them. That's just one example.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so that from that submergent, here's what I'm offering, that two people come together. So if submergent is 1 + 1 = 1, how about if we think of it this way, that 1 + 1 = 3? So with the 6 ingredients that I introduced in the book, if those 6 ingredients are present and in constant interaction with each other, then love will be emergent as the byproduct of a thriving relationship. Not the purpose of it, not the goal of it, not the base of it, none of that, a byproduct of it. It's a huge change in the mentality that we have.
It is. So let's talk about the 6 ingredients, the 6 pillars
Sure.
of emergent love.
Sure. So one of the reasons I actually call them ingredients is one of the things that I learned over the years and also from the research is every day and every season in your relationship, you need more or less of these ingredients. All of them, they have to be there. People ask me, can I have this and that? Can I please? I'm like, no. Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Non-negotiable.
So they all of those ingredients have to be there, but they're at different proportions at different times.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the first one, again, in no particular order, because they
Yes.
need to be there, all of them, right? The first one is attraction. Why do you want to be around the other person? And that changes over time. If
Yes.
anybody is listening and they've been in any kind of relationship, they know that. And all of these things that I talk about in love and relationships, this is the exact principle that I teach in corporate, in schools, with parenting courses, anything. So why do you want to be around these people or that person specifically, right? So that's that. And you change, they change, all that. The second one is respect. Respect, if you go to the Latin origin of the word, is to see and to see again, meaning that I'm constantly paying attention to you, your priorities, what matters to you. And at the heart of respect is I need to be respectable to expect respect from you. Many people
Right.
come to me and say, my partner doesn't respect me. And I ask them, are you respectable? They're like, well, what do you mean?
Right.
So
You give
everything
yeah.
is reciprocal.
Oh, it
Yeah.
sure is.
So that's important, right? So with respect, also, we need to talk about boundaries. A lot of the trendy talk out there talks about boundary as shutting the other person off. This is being passive aggressive, people. This is not healthy boundary.
Yeah.
Boundary, you know when you do it right, when you know that you can actually insert your boundaries in loving and firm way. That's healthy boundary, lovingly and firmly. If you don't have that, you're passive aggressive. So that's that with respect. And then trust. For trust, we have different varieties. As soon as we say trust, the question is who slept with whom? That's just one aspect of it, right?
Trusting that you're going to say what you're going to do, right? Trusting
Exactly.
that you're going to honor, just your commitments. And right, trust has so many aspects to it.
Exactly. It's social trust, financial trust, bodily trust. So many things. Like I have clients who come and say, well, I don't feel close to my partner. And when I go to the depth of it with them, they talk about how everything that they share in the privacy of their couple bubble is shared with the mother-in-law and tomorrow with a friend and somebody's boss and their children and. So that's a breach of trust.
Yes.
Equally hurtful. right?
Yes,
So
it
these are
really
the
is.
things, right? So with trust comes commitment. And with commitment, what I mean is, what are you committed to? Wait for it when you don't feel like it. When you're happy chappy, in love with each other, it's very easy to keep the commitment. What are you committed to when you don't feel like it? So that's a piece that is
Right.
important. And
So
we
can you give an
try,
example? Can you give an example of how that shows up in a relationship where they're not okay? They say I'm committed to you as my partner, but when shit goes down, they're showing behaviors that are not commitment. Like how does that? Can you just give an example of what you see?
yes. So with trust, I break it down into two elements: consistency and reliability, right? So if you're consistently showing up with your best behavior, that shows your commitment. For example, if we are in the worst argument of our lives, you still don't say that you're rubbish. I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna just not look at you.
Right.
And like the character assassination, So you don't go there. This is the person that you wake up next to tomorrow. So these are the things that I'm talking about, like the
Yes.
verbal breach of the, like the assassination of the character, or saying things that you can't really take back. Like in Farsi, we have a thing we say, when you spill the water, you can't get it back. In English, we say when you spilled milk, for example,
Right.
right? So these are the things that, when you also, speaking different languages helps, at least for me, because I feel like when you see that there are certain sayings around trust and commitment, around that bridge of trust, bridge of commitment, that are said in different languages and cultures in one way or the other, you know that that's basic human need, basic human
Right. Right. Because
ingredients.
it's being said in different ways in different languages across the world. So
Exactly.
that is a basic need.
Yes. So it's like a
Love that.
common ground, right? So that is that trust and commitment. The other one is compassion. Many people, well, the normal human behavior, if you are socially equipped with healthy social status and social well-being of yourself to be able to give to the other, is you come to me and say, Sara, today I was actually coming, the traffic was terrible. My mind immediately goes to my memory of that incident, if I had it or not. I'm trying to relate. Relating is a very healthy human behavior that we do. Sometimes we over relate to the point that I steal your thunder, I steal your story and it becomes mine, right?
Yes.
You had the traffic? Let me tell you about mine last week, right? Hello, hang on there. It was about me. I was coming to, get some venting situation going here. So get some validation or affirmation from you, and you just stole my thunder. So that's over relating. The other thing that I talk about in compassion and the chapter is a lot of us talk about empathy and compassion and sympathy and apathy, all of those Instagram words. But one of the things that is important for people, first of all, to know who is defining these terminologies and the behavior that goes with it. Because depending on the discipline that the person comes from, they might define it a little bit differently. For me, I study the neurobiology of the brain. I study like how the brain mapping and brain lighting works when a person is in an empathic phase or in sympathic phase or in compassion phase. And also in the relational science space, the way that I would like to define it for my clients is compassion is when I show up for you without making it about me. So if you come to me and you say you're bleeding, I'm coming and say, does it hurt? Do you need a band-aid? How can I show up for you right now? It's not about me. I might be bleeding, but it's not about me, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Empathy in these situations is you come and say, I'm bleeding. My God, you're bleeding? You're bleeding? My God, you're bleeding. So
Yeah.
it becomes my bleeding to the point that nobody gets the band-aid, nobody's helping nobody, and
Yeah.
then you have to bleed and also come save me because now it's about
Right.
me.
You give an example in your book about this, Dr. Sara, where a woman says to her husband, I can no longer come to you with my stuff my stressors or my worries, because every time it's like you take it on, and it's like, and then you're hurting. You're, oh, it's like, right? And so she's like, so there's a lot of ingredients that are getting messed up in here, right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
she's no longer coming and disclosing her pain to her partner, who is one of her closest people, and because she's lost trust in the fact that she can't trust him with her deepest pains, even little pains,
Mhm.
because so that's the empathy compassion piece. It's kind of right. So I just the way you're explaining this makes perfect sense.
I'm glad, because look, another thing that I know that we are also recording visually, so maybe this can help people as well. Compassion is this: I know where I stand. I can take responsibility to hold on to my nervous system and regulate myself while extending a hand to help you, right? This is compassion. Not
Yes.
coldness, because some people say, well, that's cold. That's not actually cold, because in everyday interaction, you want a partner who is responsible for their own nervous system. Otherwise, you are this clumsy, like a thingy, like a
Yes.
submergent codependent, right? So that's important. But empathy is this:
Let me
I'm
take some of your
feeling,
load.
exactly, and I'm
Right.
feeling with you, right? So I can really
Yes.
show up with you. I have to also put a caveat here. Sometimes in the coupledom, you need to commiserate. I'm not talking about those incidences. Like, for example, I have couples that have very difficult children, or they lost a dear one, or there is a health diagnosis that comes in. You know, sometimes we are sinking together. And for those couples, I actually
Right.
have a thing. I say soak together so you don't sink together. So I say sit in a bathtub together. You know?
Love that. Soak together so you don't sink together. Oh, that is good. So
So, you know, you
so you're
can
saying in those
commiserate.
examples, like let's say that you do have there's a diagnosis, okay? Somebody's diagnosed in the coupledom or in your family with cancer, okay? That's very painful for the person that was diagnosed, as well as the person that loves them so dearly. So you suggest like doing a physical act, like soaking in a bathtub together, or
Yeah,
like crying together is like I'm feel like I'm
absolutely.
right here for you, and this is sad for both of us, and like so that empathy is not like an it can be a very healthy emotion, right?
Exactly. But on a thesis,
Yes,
I would lead with compassion.
exactly. This is great. Exactly. I get it. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Another area for couples that empathy will work very beautifully is erotic empathy. When they are feeling with each other in that moment
Mm.
in time. Not always, that's not for everybody, but that is the space that you can really freely express and experience empathy. But in other areas of life on a daily basis, please, I beg of you to go with compassion, because you want to be there for each other, not with each other all the time.
I
Yeah,
just love
so
it.
that's
I really,
important.
I want to give you another, just an example from my own life before we go on about this,
Let's go.
because um, I'm with a man who showed me this exact example in a very compassionate way, and I was expecting empathy. And so, and there was a security issue in my home, and I freaked out. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like, I just felt like, uh-oh, like my security in my home was compromised. And I called the security company in, and, later on I told them, even though I'm still freaking out and very anxious about the situation. And he was like, okay, it sounds like you got everything under control. Like, that's great, good. But I was still freaking out, and I was expecting a different reaction, like just like, okay. And then he said, if you want me, I'm right here. I'll come over. And then me, I'm going like, no, I'm fine. But in the meantime, I'm like thinking, you know? But he was holding his ground, being there for me in a very compassionate way. But
Yes.
I was expecting empathy. So that's a great example of
Yes.
like,
And can I just
mm,
build on that?
yeah,
I just was called to a conflict resolution meeting at a company. Do you know what the issue was?
security.
No.
Oh,
That
empathy, compassion.
there was a woman coming upstairs with a heavy box in the office. A gentleman goes and says, let me help you. And as he's saying it, he grabs the box and carries it. And he was sued by the woman.
Why? She
How
didn't
could
ask
you
for
be
help.
ageist? Exactly. Ageist, sexist, all of that. And how could you do that to me? And the man was gobsmacked. He was like, well, I assumed that I was being loving and caring, that you were out of breath. That's what I thought. So for your partner, hopefully, we developed these, especially women, because we learned not to ask for what we need, right? Me included.
Mm.
It's very
Yeah.
important for us to also say that, no, actually, uh, you're asking me to come by. I want to say no, but parts of me says yes, and I can't make a decision. So at least give them something to work with, because if your partner just shows up at your door, he's pushy, love bombing you. He is like, we have all sorts of other
Yes.
things going on, right?
And you know what I could have done in that instance, hindsight's 2020. What I could have done is
Mm-hmm.
said, like, you know what, I really would love for you to come over and just be with me,
Mm-hmm.
because it was a hard day, but I didn't. I'm the strong, independent one that, decided not to, and then kind of felt a little bit like, "Ugh." But that's on me for not speaking and being honest about what I really needed and what I wanted.
Yeah,
So there you
I
go.
yeah, the other thing is the world is so confusing, especially for heterosexual couples, as the example that I gave. Men really don't know how to show up. My male clients are so confused. They really don't know what to do. When they are all the
Right.
way, a lot of their partners cheat because they disrespect them, because they are sissies and they are too emotionally involved, or whatnot. And when they are not, then they are accused of not being present, not being there, not reading their mind. So it's very tricky business right now. So the conclusion of that, if you want to give people some good advice, hopefully, not good, maybe just effective advice, is it's nice to guess for our partners. For example, in that bleeding situation or in that security situation that you brought, I really would love to carry the box. I would love to come over to hold you at least. The least I can do for you. Would you be okay with that? So these
Yeah.
things we can offer, right? So from both
Right.
sides, and then from your side, you can say, well, you know what? I'm not sure what you can do, but mm, I feel like I can use your embrace. I can
Aw,
use
see,
you.
that's so loving and honest. It's just so great. Yes. Okay, so the last one, which I think obviously loving behaviors. And there's so many ways
Right.
that we can show up. So please talk about that.
Sure. So the one before that is actually shared vision,
Oh, of
that
course, shared
has
vision.
different areas, right? Shared visions, and shared vision determines where your priorities are, and then you have to commit to put your city resources behind those. So you can't just say that I want this and that. Oh yeah, I want that too. And then in real life, you will see that the resources are going somewhere else. Actually, are you really sharing this vision with me? And also, shared vision is not just having a baby or traveling or whatnot. There are very specific areas that I introduce in the book, like geographical, spiritual, physiological. All of those need to be discussed so that you have that deep understanding from one another's needs to be able to show up where it matters. Otherwise, a lot of people say, I do so much work on my relationship. Why is it not working? I'm doomed. Like, no, if we can just attract your resources to this part, it will work. So that piece of it. And last but not least, loving behaviors. My editor actually asked me, if the whole book is about love, what is the business of having a chapter on it? So loving behavior, love manifests through its experiences that we have with it and expressions of it. And the person who perceives and receives it is also very important, because my loving behavior might be not perceived or received by you as such. So
Right.
that's why in chapter 3, I'm talking about the individuals, like what is your love blueprint? So getting to know yourself, in the relationship.
Yeah, and you compare this to how, there's been so much about Gary Chapman's book, The Love Languages, right? And how, but you're saying, because I understand this, where so a lot of us have read that book and understood. We know our love languages, and it's important that we understand our partner's love languages. But so it's knowing ours, knowing our love blueprint, and how we want to. You talk about into me first and then into you, like intimacy. Into me, I see, and then into you, I see,
Well
right?
done. That's great.
I just know I got so much out of this book, Dr. Sara, I'm telling you. So it's very important that we know how we want to be loved and communicate that to our partners and to people we love, right? And then
Exactly.
understand, how do you want to be loved? Because otherwise we could be missing, like, we're missing each other in the dark. Like, and that's exactly what you're saying. You have all these couples that say, like, I do so much for my partner. I just don't get it. Like, I do this, I do that, like, I show up in this way. And she or he's going, or they is going, yeah, but you're missing the point. Like, those aren't the things that I really need or want from you. I need this.
Yes. Yes, and that's where we talk about golden rule versus platinum rule. Golden rule
Yes.
that many of us grew up with, do to others as you would like to be done to you. That's a little
I
bit
grew up with that.
misleading, right? Well,
Yeah.
that's level one. Let's put it this way. Like level one. Level two, more complex and more maybe mature way of in the relational space
Hmm.
is the platinum rule. Do to others as they want you to do to them. And that's
Yes.
important because, like with the loving behaviors, the way that I define them is tenderness through touch and words. Specialness. How do you make the other person feel special? If I want to make you special, I don't just come and say, Robin, maybe you're my Robbie. Maybe you are my, so something there that makes
Yes.
you feel special. Nobody else does that. It's a nickname. It's a way that I look at you. It's a way that I touch you. So is that a specificity? And then the other one for loving behavior is I give you benefit of the doubt. I assume the best,
That's so
right?
important.
So important.
Oh, yeah.
Benefit of the doubt. And the other one is so the tenderness, benefit of the doubt, and going out of my way for you. These are the ones that will show that you have this special space in my life and not like everybody else that is, in my life. And that is the piece that dies over time. Many people talk about my spark died, my this and that died. These are the things that die first, and then the spark dies, of course.
Oh my gosh, yes. So it's like, yeah, if you were going to talk about the spark, it's like these are all the things that in the beginning of a relationship, like the honeymoon phase, that people are doing for each other and giving to
Mhm.
each other, right? And then, but those behaviors are no longer carried. They're not like on the daily, like, right? Of course, the spark's dying, the attraction's dying.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
it is the little things day to day, like just moment by moment that really matter. Like, and these are not complicated. Like you're saying, like, I love the examples that are just like, these are so easy and tangible. It's like you wake up in the morning and you look at your partner and you say, good morning. Okay, like that's
I
not hard.
swear to God, that baffles me. Like I have
Yeah.
couples that, like, for example, I do the sessions, right? Or when I was at the office, I'm starting the session with somebody who, waiting for the other person to arrive from work or, they're late to the session. They come, they don't even say hello to each other. They just straight look at me. I'm like, would you like to take a second to acknowledge that another human just entered the room? So
Right.
can you just look up, say hello? And from where I'm coming from, to be honest, it's so disrespectful that somebody enters
Yes.
the room. And that's also cultural, I have to say, huge cultural. And, I talk to younger clients, teenagers, and a lot of them feel unseen. They don't say hello to their parents. They don't get the hello back. They don't say goodnight to one another. So there's no coming together as a family, as people who
Wow.
share a household with each other. How are we creating the sense of belonging and loving
Right.
relationships around us? So simple things matter a lot. That's why
Yes.
those examples in the book.
Yeah. One of the other great reminders, and I think this is all about a paradigm as well that we have to remember, and coming out of this emergent model to the emerging model, is that we are constantly changing,
Mm-hmm.
and how important that is to stay connected and honor that I'm changing as a person and you're changing as a person. You're not the person that I married, right? People say that, right? Like in your office, like I don't know what happened, but the person I married is not, and you're like, of course not. Like
Yeah.
it's been 10, 15, 20 years and I'm definitely not the same person that I was those years ago. I'm growing just like you are. My beliefs have changed. I mean, I'm now a mother. I wasn't before. Like I've got this career that I wasn't, like, so there's honoring that in each other.
Absolutely.
right?
And keeping in touch. There's a whole chapter at
Keeping
the
in
end
touch. Yes.
that I say check in and checkups. That's extremely important. And I give exercises for a
Yes.
daily check in, for a weekly check in, monthly check in, annual check
Yes.
in. So these are the ones that, when people look at me, that's one of the things that really made me frustrated. When, for example, with my husband and I, we went somewhere and said, oh, so lucky. But luck has nothing to do with this.
Very intentional.
Very intentional. It's hard work. But it's just a
Yes.
matter of, again, people say, natural relationships need to come to us naturally. Or when love is in place, everything follows. Yes, be loving. That's amazing. But also there are certain things that you need to do. If you want to be fit, do you just say, I love my body, it will follow? No.
Of
You
course
eat
not. You have to be
well,
dedicated, committed. Yep. All those things. Exercise, you work at it. And the
Exactly.
same, yes. So, like an example, there's so many great examples, but you and your husband do always and joys,
Yes.
right?
Yes, we do
So
always enjoy.
that's a daily thing. And
Yes.
this is simple. This is a simple exercise that people can do. And
Very
I
simple.
love it even just to do with my kids. Give me
Yes.
your oys and joys for today. And you start with the oys, like, oh, these are the really crappy things that happen. It could be just a minor thing, right?
Exactly.
And then what were the joys? And you're getting like you're like yesterday I interviewed Topaz Adid Zads, and he is the writer of the 12 questions. And so he asks us all to ask better questions so that we can have deeper conversations.
Wonderful.
And I think just having an example of oys and joys as a ritual in your relationship gives you
Yes.
that opportunity. Like, just tell me what was the crap and what was the good today, right?
Yes. And did you know that in families that you do that, they have lower level of self-harm for the children?
Wow.
Lower because this connection, that lack of sense of belonging, nobody cares. Who cares what I'm going through? And the reason I say oi first, joy second, oi is something that people think if they share big experiences is wonderful. But look, even in the same household with me, my husband, and my child, and my this person, that person, everybody is exposed to different things throughout the day. It's not 50 years ago that we watched the same TV show, we had the same language, we had the same cultural literacy. We are all experiencing the world very differently. If we lose those moments of sharing with each other, and please don't make it like a big conversation every night because that's exhausting
No.
and nobody wants
Yeah.
the chore of it. But just a 5 minutes check-in over dinner table, hopefully. If you miss dinner because of different schedules, you can just come together and just before bed,
Love
just a
it.
check-in. And OI goes first because brain has the capacity to follow and continue the processing with the last thing that you had a conversation with, right? So when you do OI and then you do joy and you walk away from the experience, you're more likely to stay with the processing of the joyful part rather than the negative part. And these are the things that will keep us together rather, like a lot of people think couples fall apart because of cheating or sleeping with somebody else. That's not actually. Majority of couples fall apart first, so they drift apart. Not to happen, you need to check in on a daily basis and weekly basis, all of those exercises that I
Yes.
give with the topics that matter, so
You have to be
so that you can
continuously
keep your
connecting to stay in your connection. And I think
yes.
but I really like the exercise, the always enjoys, because it's different than saying, how was your day? That's not specific. Like, you're not going to get, like, I ask my kids that after school, tell me about your day. That was fine. Well, that was a shitty question. It's like, God, I really like. It's like the answer is always the same. It's you're doing the same thing, expecting a different result. No, wrong. I need to change my approach so that I'm getting more. Like, because I want to know. Like, I'm not just asking I'm asking out of love, but it's like I'm asking the wrong question. We're in the wrong context here.
Right. So you said context. Actually, I want to come in if I know that we might be derailing a little bit, but again, details matter. Like for
Yes.
kids, a lot of us, as soon as we pick up our kids, we say, "How was your day?" And majority of times they're sitting in the back seat. Some people say this is better because they're not eye to eye with you. I disagree because when my child sits beside me, I get a lot out of him. he feels, more
Right.
equitable. So depending on different children. The other thing is right before children go to sleep, when they are relaxed without the distraction of the day, that's the best time to get to their head. Just sit by their bed and say, "Hey, let's do our oi and joy. How was it for you? Oi, joy." Then you're sharing. And if they have issues, you prompt them with the energy they received during the day or gave. And the five senses, was there something that you saw that brought you joy? Any smell? Anything you ate brought you joy?
Mm.
So little by little, depending, it doesn't matter like what age they are, they will open up and they will have those conversations. And there's also science behind it because the brain is at a capacity that can go deeper, and that's time of the day.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, before we end, we have like, okay, a little bit of time because I want to get back to the attraction piece.
Mhm.
Because there's so many people like that are coming to you and you can say like, I am just not attracted to this person anymore. It's not even a spark. It's just like, I no, like I've lost it all. Like, what are we gonna do? Right? I love them, but I'm totally not attracted to them anymore.
Yes,
So
yes,
how are you helping people get back to that place? It's through all of these things, right? Like this is what we're talking about. It's
yes.
going all these six ingredients again. And like where are you missing the mark?
Let's talk about that a little bit, like through that lens of, again, I know that we use the same terminology that we read elsewhere, like attraction, respect. Yeah, I know that. But hopefully these are new definitions that we are offering. When we talk about attraction in the context of emergent love, we're talking about different types of attraction. Unfortunately, our general culture is all about trauma these days. I'm not dismissing anybody's trauma. God knows I had my own share with them. But the thing is, look, when you are only sharing that my father was terrible, my mother was like this, no, 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 no. So this is like a trauma bonding that you have with each other. And from the beginning of the relationship all the way through, right? But how about once in a while share what are you proud of? What are the roles
Yes.
in your life that you are very proud of?
So make a list. This is a great one. So you want to make a list of things that you are proud of about yourself and your life and
Yes.
ask your partner to do that individually and then share. And then you're like, then that person can be like, yeah, like I'm proud of, like, yes.
Yes, and that is the person that you're actually inviting to go deeper with you. Into me, I see, here are the things that matter to me right now, at this moment in time. And into me, you see, then I invite you to see those parts. Where a lot of couples who drift apart, when I ask them, I have intake questionnaires, and also I put couples through the RPI, Relationship Panoramic Inventory, which is the
Mm.
360-degree review of a coupledom. It's a validated inventory. So when the inventory comes to me, it's like a 28 pages. And I look through them. It's really interesting. Sometimes, even as simple as the question at the beginning of the how long have you been together? One person says 7 years, one person says 8 years.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me. What
Right.
marked the beginning of your relationship from each perspective, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Or the different perceptions that they have about, so do you respect your partner? Yes, 100%. And then the other person said, there's a question that asks, are you respected by your partner? 30%. Okay, what is this?
Where's the gap?
No?
Major gap.
So,
Mhm.
exactly. So, when we are talking about attraction, it's important. What is it about me that makes me very special to you? Why do you want to be around me? I hear this so many times in my sessions that, do you even like me? Do you even
Right.
see me? Right?
Right. And because you're not you're actually wanting me to be that. You give an example about this couple where she started as a bartender and he was like heavy into his
Yes.
career, but he valued the fact that like she was so fun and just like, together they would just be having a blast, right?
Yes.
And now in their marriage, I mean, she is in school getting her master's and he's still, but he's wanting that fun girl back, that fun woman. And she's like, that's not where I'm at right now. Like, I don't want to be partying at the bars and hanging out with strangers. I want to be home, focused on my career and my family and friends in our spare time. And that's what I'm proud of. And you're not seeing how well I'm doing because I feel good about things, right? And he wants the old
Exactly.
woman back. So
Yes.
you've really missed the mark, right?
Yes. Yes, or for example, new parents. They really
Mm.
struggle because they
Oh,
want
yeah.
the old person back. I have so many people in my practice that they've been together, raised children together, and then now they go with somebody else outside the marriage or outside their relationship, which is the younger version of the person that they had. So it shows that sense of loss that they're experiencing in their relationship, and that's painful to witness.
Yeah.
So it is important to keep in touch with one another. And also, let me also say something here. If you're listening to us, it doesn't mean that you have to stay and make it work. Sometimes also you need to accept that you grew apart. You grew to the point that you really don't have much in common. If you look at all of these 6 ingredients and you feel like, you know what, I have one, but not the rest, or I have this and this and this, but not that, then that becomes a very valid choice for you to say, can I live without it? Right? How am I defining this? Yeah, it's but if you really are in a relationship or looking for a relationship, I really highly recommend that people especially start with the first part of the book for people who are dating, and also go through all of those nuggets that I give with the examples, and hopefully it will give you some insight as when you go out what to look for. Like
Yes.
there's so many people who come and say, I was attracted to your, as you mentioned, like liveliness, and or I was attracted to your finances, and now the guy stopped working, or finances don't matter to me anymore because I've been there, done that, and traveled the world, and I had all the means, and it doesn't really matter to me. Then I outgrew my own point of attraction.
Yeah.
And these are honest conversations to be had with
Yes.
oneself.
And
That
I
what is it
really
that I'm
appreciate,
attracted to?
yes, I appreciate the rawness of what you shared in the book around what your clients were saying to each other. I was thinking, whoa, those are vulnerable the way they're communicating to each other, because they're in your office because, well, they're feeling like there's a lot of things that we need to fix here. Like otherwise we're not going down the right road. Or maybe
Yes,
not together. We're down different roads. So
true.
yeah, I just I loved your book, Dr. Sara. I hope everybody reads it. Love by Design. Really, I'm gonna be turning. I'm gonna be talking to my boyfriend about this, and like because it's like one of those ones you just
Lovely.
want to reopen and do the exercises together, because it really you get to know each other on such a deep heart level, and that's really important.
Oh, that
Yeah.
warms my heart, really. That's why I wrote it. Yeah, and also on that note, I actually want to tell people something. On the website of the book, I put some resources that they can just freely download. It's not I just made worksheets for people that they can just go and get it.
Yes, and it's lovebydesignbook.com.
Yes, it's called lovebydesignbook.com. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Okay, great. So we'll make sure that people go to your website and get the resources, and they can take the 360
Yeah,
panoramic,
relationship panoramic. Yes, they can take
right?
that too.
So
Yeah.
so that's yeah, there's a lot of things on your website. There's so many great resources. So we always close with a blessing, and this blessing is for everybody listening, and this is from your words, Dr. Sara. So may we cultivate thriving relationships by choosing daily to act in ways that will strengthen our bonds and always allow ourselves to flourish. May we create and sustain partnerships that are based on a solid foundation of attraction, respect, trust, shared vision, compassion, and being loving. And may we set an intention to take an active role in creating the love we desire and deserve. So, thank you, Dr. Sara Nazarzadeh.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank
It
you,
was
Robin.
such a beautiful time with you. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Visit realloveready.com to continue learning with us. Please rate and review this podcast. Your feedback helps us get you the tools and guidance you need to form more loving relationships and create positive change in your life. We at Real Love Ready acknowledge and express gratitude for the Coast Salish people, the stewards of the land on which we work and play, and encourage you to take a moment to acknowledge and express gratitude for those that have stewarded and continue to steward the land that you live on as well. Many blessings and much love.